It seems like every year brings about incredible dinosaur discoveries. This year was no different. We found brand new dinosaurs, new relatives of Ankylosaurus, and even more feathered dinosaurs. Let's take a look at the biggest fossil finds from 2025. But first, if you love dinosaurs, make sure to subscribe for more dino-related content. From the largest to the smallest, we're going to start off this list with one of the largest dinosaurs ever discovered, Dreadnoughtus. This absolutely massive titanosaur was discovered in Patagonia, Chile back in 2013. But it took paleontologists over 10 years to clean and remove all the rocks surrounding the bones. The fossil was so big that they needed to leave it in the fossil bed where it was found and carefully remove it piece by piece, which is part of the reason why it took so long. The fossils were then taken back to the lab and put on display. While we don't have an exact height estimate for this sauropod, its length alone is truly impressive. It was about 85 feet long and weighed over 77 tons. That's longer than a school bus and heavier than 3 adult African bush elephants. It got its name, Dreadnoughtus, because of how massive it was. The word dreadnought means powerfully built and incapable of being intimidated or destroyed. That's a pretty fitting name for this huge dinosaur. The thing is that Dreadnoughtus isn't the only new dinosaur we found in 2023, not even close. In fact, there were 2 other dinosaurs unveiled recently, and while none of them were quite as large as Dreadnoughtus, they are still pretty big. The first is a relative of Ankylosaurus called Boreopelta Mark Mitchelli. Fossils of this dinosaur were found in the genus Boreopelta Mark Mitchell and the species named after Wendy Ceratops. The paleontologist who spent decades searching for fossils in the area, she finally discovered this one in 2014, and it took another 9 years to fully study and confirm the discovery. It was worth it, though, because this armored dinosaur is unlike anything else ever seen before. It lived in what is now western North America between 96 and 93 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period. It was a herbivore, and measured around 15 feet long and 5 feet tall. It had scutes along its head, neck, and tail, plus it had shoulder blades that could meet in the middle to form a protective shield. But the coolest thing about this dino is that it has no close relatives. Scientists say that it's a new type of ankylosaur, a group that includes the famous Ankylosaurus and Boreopelta. Mark Mitchelli is a new addition to the family tree. Speaking of the famous Ankylosaurus, we have some exciting news regarding this dinosaur as well. A few years ago, scientists announced that they had found a relative of Ankylosaurus in Canada, which was weird because Ankylosaurus were only thought to exist in the US and Mexico. They decided to name this dinosaur Boreopelta Mark Mitchelli. Well, a new analysis of the skull suggests that it might actually be a new species altogether. It has unique skull features that set it apart from other relatives of Ankylosaurus. So scientists think that it might be a new type of dino. However, more research is needed to confirm this. The third dinosaur we need to talk about is a feathered predator called Hulsaniraptor. It was found in southern Mongolia in 2014, but it's only just been described by scientists. What makes this raptor special is that it had feathers. And not just any feathers, mind you, but brightly colored ones. The feathers covered its entire body and were likely used for display purposes. Hulsaniraptor was a small theropod, about 5 feet tall and 15 feet long. It roamed the Earth between 126 and 121 million years ago during the Cretaceous period. Despite its size, it was a skilled hunter. Its feathers would have helped it stalk its prey before pouncing. It also had sharp claws and teeth that would have made quick work of any unfortunate animals that crossed its path. Now let's move on to something a little bit weirder. One of the strangest dinosaurs ever discovered was recently given a new name, Stegosaurus. No, not Stegosaurus. Stegosaurus, wait, they're totally different. Just kidding, it is still called Stegosaurus. However, the species was renamed from Stenops to supersaxosus. Why? Because the original name didn't really fit this dinosaur. Stegosaurus supersaurus means overly spiked lizard, which is a much better fit. This herbivore lived in what is now the southwestern US and western Canada. Between 155 and 150 million years ago during the late Jurassic period, it was famous for its plates, which ran down its back and its tail spikes, which were used for defense against predators. But the thing is that we haven't always called it Stegosaurus. Supersaxosus was originally named in 1877 by the famous paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh. He thought it was a completely separate dinosaur so he gave it its own name. However, further research revealed that it was actually just a type of Stegosaurus. In 2023, scientists decided to change the species name from Stegosaurus to Supersaurus, which is a much better fit. And speaking of weird dinosaurs, let's talk about one of the strangest looking ones out there, the dinosaur. It looks like a mix between a bird and a crocodile, but it's neither. It's a type of theropod that lived in what is now China between 230 and 221 million years ago during the late Triassic period. It was about 3 feet tall and 6 feet long, and it had a beak like a bird, but its teeth looked more like those of a crocodile. So basically, it was kind of the weirdest looking dino out there. You can tell that it's related to birds because of its feathers and wishbone. But the thing is that it's also got a lot of features that are more typical of crocodiles. For example, it had a long, narrow snout and a secondary palate, which is a bony structure that supports the roof of the mouth. Crocodiles use their secondary palate to breathe while underwater, so maybe this dino did as well. The thing is that we're not entirely sure what to make of this dinosaur, because it doesn't fit in with any other known groups of dinosaurs. It's unlike anything else that's ever been found before. So it's a bit of a mystery. Maybe one day we'll find more fossils that will help us learn more about this strange-looking dino. Another bizarre dinosaur that we need to talk about is Champsaurus. This herbivorous sauropod was famous for its incredibly long neck, which was used to reach high plants that no other animals could eat. It lived in what is now South Africa between 200 and 180 million years ago during the late Triassic period. However, this dinosaur wasn't just notable for its long neck. It also had a unique way of walking. Instead of walking on all fours, Champsaurus walked on 3 legs, with its neck dragging behind it. This is pretty weird because most dinosaurs walk on all fours except for birds, of course. And Champsaurus definitely wasn't a bird. It was a type of sauropod, which means that it was related to other long-necked dinosaurs like Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus. But unlike those dinosaurs, Champsaurus preferred to walk on 3 legs. This might have been an adaptation to save energy while walking long distances. After all, it had a very long neck that would have dragged down on its body, making it harder to move forward. By walking on 3 legs, Champsaurus could keep its center of gravity low and conserve energy for when it needed to run from predators. So there you have it, some of the biggest fossil finds from 2023. From the massive Dreadnoughtus to the strange-looking Champsaurus, these dinosaurs are truly remarkable. What do you think of these dinosaurs? Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more dino-related content. Thanks for watching. See you next time.